Welcome back. This is grade 5, module 6, lesson 5, homework. So remember, you should always do your homework before you look at this, but this is just a helper if you get stuck. All right, use the coordinate plane to answer the questions. Use a straight edge to construct a line that goes through point A and B. Label that line G. So here's my straight edge. I'm going to go through A and B, and I'm going to make it a line. And I'm going to call it G. Use line G is parallel to we know that it's parallel to the x-axis, and perpendicular, you can see how it makes that T, to the y-axis. Draw two more points on line G. Name them C and D. I'm going to call this one C, and I'm going to call this one D. Name them C and D. Give the coordinates of each point. So A, the scale is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So A is 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just going to write 8 here because I think I'm going to use 8 a lot. So A is 5, 8, and B, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 8. And my C, which might be different than your C, is 6, 8. Starting to notice a pattern here. And D is 10, 8. What do all of the points on line G have in common? Well, we can see the y-coordinate is 8. Give the coordinates of another point that fall on line G with an x-coordinate greater than 25. So we have x-coordinates right now that are only 10, whatever. We can pick anything. We know the y-coordinate has to be 8. So we can pick anything greater than 25. I'm just going to make it simple and pick 26. You could have 108. You could have 101, 8. Anything as long as the x-coordinate is larger than 25. All right, number 2, plot the following points on the coordinate plane to the right. 3/4, so this one's counting by 1, 2, 3, 4 fourths, right? So I'm just going to label 3/4 here because I'm seeing a pattern of 3/4 and 3. That's H. 3/4 and 2 1/4. So we know 3/4 and 2 1/4. That's I. 3/4 and 1/2. That's J. And 3/4 and 1 3/4. That's K. Use a straight edge to draw the line. I'm going to just use this little piece of paper I have. Some pamphlet. And I'm going to call that F, line F. In line F, X for all the values is 3/4, right? So we can see that 3/4 for all of them. Circle the correct word. Line F is parallel or perpendicular to X. So here's the x-axis, and here's line F. So we can see that that is perpendicular. Line F is parallel or perpendicular to the y-axis. So we can see that that is parallel. What pattern occurs in the coordinate pairs that makes the line F vertical? Well, we know x-coordinates are all the same, or 3/4, right? Because we know that they're always the same. All right, for each pair of points below, think about a line that joins them. For which pair is the line parallel to the x-axis? Circle your answer. Without plotting them, explain how you know. So we look at this and we see 3 and 2/10 and 7 and 5 and 7. So what do they both have in common? Sevens. Let's look back at this. When we had a line that was vertical, was it the x or the y that was the same? Was it the x or the y? Yeah, you can see that the x-axis was the same. Well, this one, the y-axis is the same, right? So this one, the y-axis is the same. They're all on the same x-axis, right? Right, so when we look at that, that's what we get there. So the 2 points all have the same distance above the x-axis. All right, that's part A, this one right here, because it says which one is parallel to the x-axis. So we could even try it. We could say 3, and we're just making up the picture, and then 7, and then something, and 7. We know that it would be a certain distance away, always 7 away from the x-axis, right? Because we're going up 7. So the 2 points are the same distance above the x-axis, right? For each pair of points below, think about the line that joins them. For which pair is the line parallel to the y-axis? Circle the answer or answers. Then give 2 other coordinate pairs that would also fall on that line. So we're thinking about this one here, parallel, right? So we want it to look like that. So what has to be in common, right? What has to be in common? You have to have the x-axis, right? Because when you think about this, what are you going to have? The x-axis has to be the same. So this one here, if we looked at this and said, oh, everything's at 13 1/3, just making it up, right? We know that everything has to be 13 1/3 away from the y-axis. So the 2 points are the same distance from the y-axis. Okay, and then give 2 other coordinate pairs. Well, you name it. 13, 8. 13 1/3, 100. Whatever, as long as this x-axis tells us that we're 13 1/3 away from the y-axis. Okay? Number 5. Write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that can be connected to construct a line that is 5.5 units to the right of and parallel to the y-axis. So we're thinking, here's the y-axis. We need to be, we need to be away or on the x-axis at 5.5. So let's just write 5.5, 5.5, 5.5, and then we can make up any numbers we want, right? Because it doesn't matter. They're all going to connect into a straight line. So 6, 7, and 9, right? Those were just made up. Write the coordinate pairs of 3 points that lie on the y-axis, right? On the y-axis. So here's our axis. That's y and that's x. We need the point to be right here on this y-axis. When you are on the y-axis, how far did you go over on the x-axis? Nothing, 0. So that means all of our answers are going to be 0, right? Because we're not moving on the x-axis, we're staying here and we're going up the y-axis. So then you can choose anything, right? Those y numbers don't matter, because imagine we're just moving up the y-axis any place we want. All right, and the last one, Leslie and Peggy are playing Battleship on the axis labeled in halves. Presented in the table Presented in the table is a record of Peggy's guesses so far. What should she guess next? How do you know? Explain using words or pictures. So she did 5-5. She did 4-5. She did 3.5-5. She did 4.5-5. You're thinking about, right, the x and y axis, and you're thinking she did 5. I'm just going to put this in here. Right, she went 5, 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta make another one here. Here you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She went here. She went 4, 5. She went here. I'm actually going to put one more line up here. Right? These were, this was a miss. This was a hit. She went here. 3, 5, 3.5, 5. Actually, these should be up here, because they said it was by halves, right? So okay, so I made a mistake, so I'm going to go ahead and look at this again. I'm going to label it properly because I tried to do it quickly. 0, that's what you get when you do it quickly. So this is a half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. That's a half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, let's go over the things again. She did 5-5, and it was a miss. She did 4-5, and it was a hit. She did 3.5-5, and it was a miss. And then she did 4.5-5. She did 4.5-5, and it was a miss. What should she do next? Right? You guys played Battleship. You know you should guess around there. Right? You know that it could be here. It could be here. We played a different version where we actually made it a little harder. We went diagonally, but if you're just going vertical and horizontally, it has to be here or here. So her next choice should be above it or below it, because she's already eliminated to the left and right. So now it has to be above or below. All right. I hope that helps you. I will see you next time. Sorry about the mistake, but it's okay. We all make mistakes. And until next time, keep calculating.